They say image is everything. And that's why on this segment on Breakfast Weekend, we're looking at business etiquette. My guest is an image, communication, and performance coach, and he will be taking us through business etiquette. What are the codes of conduct that the person should have in their business place, wherever that business is located, whatever form or shape it will take. I'm here with Mr. Boye Falunipe. Hello, thank you for joining us.
Hello, thank you. Nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
All right, so let's get down to business. Business etiquette. How is it different from the other etiquettes, from the other codes of conduct that everyone else is supposed to have? What separates it from the one that is involved with business?
Generally, we should get an understanding of what etiquette is.
Okay.
Etiquette are the rules that guide social engagement between one person and a group, or between one person and an individual. But general etiquette has to do with everyday living, and it's about living and letting other people live. All right, doing your own things without getting in the way of other people. While business etiquette is then taking that same attitude of caring for the other people, treating them with dignity and respect, and then taking it into the business place.
Okay.
Because you know that much of life is transactional, really. If you must get by in life, then you have to be trading something. Every day we wake up, you go to work, you're trading something. You sell your wares by the roadside, you're trading something. So the same conduct that makes you humane at home, the same conduct that makes you likable to your spouse, or to your boyfriend, or to your girlfriend, should then be taken into the marketplace as well. Because to succeed in life, you need people. And likability is a very important factor in business.
Sure.
So if I don't like you, I'm not going to do business with you. It doesn't matter how good your product is. You are the product that I really want to buy.
In other words, you're making business etiquette sound like something that until you really interact with the person, you may never know if they don't have it.
Oh yes, certainly. Now there are certain aspects of etiquette that can be seen. There are three parts of etiquette really, or image. I'll call it generally image. There's the appearance, the communication, and the etiquette part of it. The appearance is something you can see very readily. The moment someone is walking towards you, you see what they wear, and you have an impression about them. You see the way they carry themselves, and you have an impression about them. You're able to judge if they respect themselves or not. Now, if I don't respect myself, or I don't love myself, it's very difficult for me to show you respect or to love you. So the etiquette part is wide enough to cover those three areas. So the most immediate thing you will see is what the person is wearing. And that creates a first impression. It opens the door, or it gives the person access, to you. Then after you've seen that, and then you like the person, then the other aspects of etiquette will begin to play. Like how the person speaks to you. Now, when I say speak to you, I'm not saying if he's speaking in English language, or if he's speaking Queen's English, or if he's speaking Yoruba or Pidgin English. But in the words that he's saying, is he respectful with his words? Is he respectable as a person? Is he using vulgar language? Is he being profane and cussing and swearing? Does he appreciate you? Please, thank you. Those words too have their expressions in Yoruba. Ejo, eshe, So until when you see that person and you like that person from first impression, from the way the person looks, you get in further. And then these conducts of communication begin to play. And then hey man, you form an impression about that person. But interestingly, appearance seems to be the easiest to tweak. Because look at you with your earrings or with a simple makeup. I have an impression about you. And I can make that impression in as short as 7 seconds. It takes 7 seconds to make that impression. And first impressions are right 67% of the time. 92% of first impression is based on appearance alone. Because, look, all of my body is covered. What you can see is my face and my hands. So, what you see all over me forms an impression. All right. So these are part of the codes of social engagement, social behavior in the business place. How you look, how you speak with people, how you interact with them, and how you make them feel generally.
Now, a lot of people would say, hey, forget how I look.
Yeah.
As long as I'm delivering, as long as I am giving people what they actually need. My appearance may not exactly be what they need. Especially in fields where the appearance is not the direct good that's been delivered. So in such cases, how does that appearance directly affect the business?
It's interesting. I'll bring it home. I'm not taking it to the corporate offices now.
Okay.
I just want to take it to the shops in Baggy Market, for instance, or in Akobo. Now there are two people selling the same wares along the same row of shops. All right. One comes to the shop every morning early, punctual. She's always looking good. Her place is always looking neat. Whenever you walk to her, she welcomes you with a smile. Her shop is not smelling. She's not smelling herself. All right. And there's this other woman too who has a big stack of wares, but that place is always irritating. Her hair is always unkempt. All right. Whenever she speaks to you, there's odor from her mouth. Now, the truth is, you don't want to go to a place where you're visually assaulted or your nose is assaulted. So you generally tend to go towards that person who is neat, well arranged, and courteous to you. And that would definitely affect her turnover because she's having more people come to her. She turns over goods more. She makes more profit than the person who has a big shop, nasty look, and nasty attitude. So appearance is important. Now when you take it to the place of banks and multinational, it's even more key. There's something you call brand equity in business, and that's the share of likability that you have, or the impression that you have in the mind of the customer. And a lot of it has to do with the image, not just with this look of your logo or the look of your office, but the presentation of the people who are working with you. They are the live extension of your corporate image. They are the part of you that lives and moves. Some banks have, they're called the new generation banks, A-rated banks in Nigeria. And there are some banks, we won't mention names here, who they're losing customers every day. Why? Because of the way their staff look or the way they address people. Appearance is key.
Now, appearance seems to be one of the major business etiquettes that people should have. What other codes of conduct do you think people should hold dear?
One very striking one is a handshake, for instance. We take it for granted, but you know how many times you get to shake hands in a day? Now, every time you extend your hand for a shake with someone is an opportunity to communicate something about yourself
to that person.
Okay? You could shake hands and it says, no, I don't like you, I'm not interested in you. Or he says, I'm weak, I'm timid. Now, neither of that is good for business, right? Or you could shake hands and he says, hey, like if I shake your hands now, that's it. I'm saying, hey, I respect you.
Really?
Yes. And this is warm. You're going to remember my handshake than if I was shaking you and I did like this. Now, exactly, you feel the way it is. Now, you get a lot of those kind of handshakes every day. And you miss the opportunity to make the right impression, to make that person come back and do business with you.
But isn't that a situation that would apply? I'm thinking that would apply when the person who is being, I'm shaking you now. That's if you're aware of etiquettes like this. If the person who is shaking and the person who has been shaking are just as oblivious of this fact, would it leave any impression?
I don't think, you see, there are certain things that our mama taught us from home. There are codes of, Yorubas will say, omoluabi.
Sure.
You don't need to be thought. You know when someone is doing things right. You know when I shake hands with you and you know that I mean it. You know when I meet you and I smile at you warmly, I maintain eye contact with you, you feel that I'm there with you. And that's very important. Than when I come towards you, I shake you flimsily, and you feel that I'm not interested in you. And that's very important. That when I come towards you, I smile at you warmly, I maintain eye contact with you, you feel that I'm there with you. And that's very important. Than when I come towards you, I shake you flimsily, and you feel that I'm not interested in you. And that's very important. While I'm talking to you, I'm looking everywhere else but you and ignoring you. I'm going to leave you with a bad taste, with a bad impression about me. You don't want to do business with me. So it's about how we get on with life generally, respecting ourselves and respecting the other person. We should remember that the product is important, but the person behind the product is also very important. If you put a lot of effort into packaging your product, all right, you made the printer, print it, it has to look like this, it has to look this shape, while you are then going out to sell that beautiful product, but your shirt is dirty, your clothes is dirty, your attitude is nasty, your breath stinks, you can't even shake hands properly. I'm not going to buy that thing because I haven't bought into you yet.
So as much as the product
Yes.
is being sold,
Yes.
the seller is also a product in some ways.
The seller is the primary product.
What do you do in situations where you have, people working for you, and you're the one who has this knowledge of business etiquette? How do you pass it on to other people? By telling them, by showing them? How?
There's what you call learning by observation. Now, if you don't know these things because you've not been in an environment where it is encouraged, then you observe. But if you are really particular about it, you want success for your firm. Now, don't think because you don't know, because you're not aware, because you don't practice, other people don't expect it of you.
Okay.
Stop thinking about business in the light of yourself. Think about the kind of people who are coming to you and where you're going. Dress for the way you want to be addressed. Act like you are a palace material. Okay? So it's not just about you, it's about the other people. You can invest in your staff, train them, all right? Get books for them, let them read about it. They can go on the internet, pick up a few facts and learn about it.
For businesses that are just starting
Yes.
and cannot really afford, something extravagant, to woo people to their business at the first stages, what do they do?
It's not, information is not difficult to get. Information is not difficult to get. Search on the internet for business etiquette tips, as simple as that. Okay, if you have an office where you have two people working for you, even in a store with two people, everybody has a smartphone. You have access to information, so get on it, check it, and practice one tip every day. If it's a tip about responding to customers courteously, practice it. If it's a tip about standing up and smiling to your customers, then practice it. All right. If it's a tip about how you apply your makeup, then practice it. It's about getting that little bit of information and then committing to doing it on a daily basis.
Interesting. Now, earlier I introduced you as a performance, image, and communications coach. You mentioned slightly earlier something about thank yous and please.
Yeah.
Yorubas have a saying about sorry has the male form and the female form.
Yes, exactly.
So when people are angry, for example, or they're sad or something, some of these things affect the way they communicate. May not be intentional, How can this be packaged, especially when you're working with other people? You're the receptionist, for example, somebody is coming across to you. You're not in a very happy frame of mind. But still, you need to sell your product, sell yourself. For example, how can a person, sell that across and not put their inner turmoil in the other person's face?
And it happens a lot.
It does.
It happens a lot. When you go to banks, you meet angry cashiers. Angry cashiers who give you a bad experience. Now, the problem is with them, but they have given a bad impression about the bank.
Sure.
Okay? So, as an employer of labor, you should have certain policies, all right, about how your workers behave and conduct themselves. Now, I believe in being very, very sincere with yourself. Now, you are going to be holding or sitting at a very sensitive position in the office, and you're not feeling very good, you're not up to it. Why don't you just explain it to your supervisor? If someone can take your place for that moment, because there are certain times you just can't bear certain things. Sorry, I need a break for a few minutes. I need to go to the restroom. Go get someone there to be with you or to stand in for you. Otherwise, now a customer walks in and you're feeling really blue, I don't think there's anything bad in, hi, you can still manage a smile. Hi, hello, it's nice to meet you, but I'm a little under the weather now, but I'm here with you all the same. You know, sincerity, a little bit of sincerity, so that that person doesn't go leaving with that bad impression.
Thinking that's who you are all day.
That is who you are all day. You know, let me give you a story.
Okay.
I was in a particular store to buy a cream that was recommended for my baby, and I went there, and the lady who was in that store, when I got into a small store, you know, she sat down there. She was talking to me while she was on her seat. My key fell right beside her. You know, I had to bend to pick it beside her. I could barely hear her speak. The experience was nasty, but the reason I went there was because of who owned the shop, my person. So I went to buy, and immediately I left there, I sent her a message like, this is what is happening. What kind of lady do you have in your store? She's going to ruin your business. Because I was already taking an impression away. If I didn't know the owner of the store, I'm not going back to that store. Now the lady responded and said, Brother Boy, I'm really, really sorry. And she's not like that. She must be having a bad day.
Issues.
True to her words, 10 minutes later, the lady called me and said, sorry sir, I'm sorry about the way I acted today. I wasn't feeling too fine. Okay? So that's a scenario. But I didn't know about it. If I had no way of feeding
Reaching
back
somebody.
the boss, I have an impression. I'm one customer that's gone. I have 10 other people who could be linked to me who I can recommend that product
Who would never
to,
come there.
but they would never come there.
You know, I was asking earlier about people who have people working for them, and that was the reason I was asking. Does it mean that somebody has to be on ground all the time? For example, let's imagine you don't know that person, you didn't know that person personally. If there was probably a manager on ground, you could have walked up to the person. But in an instance where there is nobody on ground to report to, does it mean somebody who owns a business has to be on ground all the time so that it can, what do you call, supervise the people who work for them all the time to get the best?
It really depends on the organization. How much workforce can you put into that business, or how much monitoring can you put into that business? Feedback is important. So if you are not there, you must put a mechanism there for feedback.
Interesting.
Okay? There's technology there, and there's telephone there. Put a phone number. Are you satisfied with our service? All right. Or were you treated well enough? Please call this number.
Even banks have this now.
Exactly. Please call this number. All right. Because you can't always rely on human beings to be consistent. So you have to put standards in place for people to behave well. Please behave well. If you don't behave well,
It's not good for us.
it's not good for us. I won't be able to pay your salary. So don't just put anybody in business. Make sure that they can do the job.
Very interesting. It's been wonderful talking to Mr. Boye Falonikwe,
Thank
who is an
you.
image, communication, and performance coach. This is where we'll wrap this segment up, and I hope to speak with Mr. Boye very soon again on other codes of conduct, other forms of etiquette that people need to apply, you know, to their everyday life. And it's a wrap. It's back to the studio.